Bobby.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Busy.
Nice weather anyway.
It could have been nice for the last week. I was having to dig up my gas. I had to replace. Went through 500 gallons of propane in a week and 3 days.
That wasn't cheap.
It's cheap.
We'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Start with the pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking you to watch over this meeting of our county commissioners and watch over our employees as they go about their duties throughout this week. Help us to make the decisions that would be according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Read the minutes. I make a motion that we approve them as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So one of our commissioners is not here today, just to let you all know that.
I guess I should have said that, shouldn't
No, you're good.
I? Make a motion, we approve the claims in the amount of $326,086.68.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
One abatement. That one was actually when Janet was going through the tax roll, she found a duplicate entry, so this is getting the duplicate off the tax roll.
Is that change order 2021-100? What's the number on it, David?
Yeah, it's
Is that it?
21-100.
Okay. Yeah, and it was for, it's an individual. So I'll make a motion that we approve this one.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I did it. I'm sorry. About once a month.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess not.
Sheriff's report was 20 total prisoners, in-house 17, 3 farmed out, 86 911 calls. Then inspections 14, 15 closed cases, 5 vehicle crashes, 2 livestock out.
I think that's all I've got for now.
AMR, come ahead.
Good morning. My name is Galen Anderson with AMR, and a few weeks pushed back, but I have the monthly report for January. I don't know if the supervisors relayed to you one week that I was going to present at my family all had the GI bug, so I was home, and then the next week we had some meetings with some of our regional leadership in town. So, but better late than never. So I'll hand that out and then review the data for January. So to start with numbers out of each town and city, Blue Mound, we had 1 request for transport and 1 transport. Centerville, we had 3 requests and 2 transports. Lacine, we had 27 requests and 16 transports. Linn Valley, we had 7 requests and 2 transports. Mound City, we had 20 requests and 14 transports. Parker, we had 9 requests and 4 transports. Pleasanton, we had 26 requests and 16 transports. About exactly the same almost as Lacine for January. And Prescott, we had 6 requests and 2 transports for a grand total of 99 requests for ambulance service in January and 57 total transports. And then broken down by each of the 3 districts. In District 1, we had 34 requests and 18 transports with an average response time of 9 minutes, 4 seconds. And out of District 2, we had 34 requests as well with 21 transports with an average response time of 12 minutes, 36 seconds. And in District 3, we had 29 requests and 18 transports, which is pretty high for District 3, with an average response time of 20 minutes and 5 seconds. And then all told, for requests that fell into the districts proper by the address was 97 requests, 57 transports, and for the month of January, average ambulance response time for the whole county was 13 minutes and 28 seconds. And just to briefly touch on again, out of District 3, the average response time doesn't accurately represent the first time that a paramedic is at the patient's side to provide care. It doesn't actually take an average of 20 minutes, but that's a combination of the first responder paramedic that's out of Centerville, as well as the response time that it takes for one of the ambulances from Lacine or Pleasanton to arrive on scene as well. And so common example I use is our paramedic supervisor out of Centerville might be at the patient's side in 10 minutes and start providing all the care that a paramedic can. And then the ambulance from Lacine or Pleasanton might take 30 minutes to get there. And so all told, that incident would record a 20-minute average response time. But in reality, the patient has a paramedic at their side providing care in 10 minutes. So just to clarify that. And someday, if we change the way we record that, I wouldn't have to provide that fine print statement every time.
Well, that's basically about right with the 20 minutes, right? I mean, that's where you're at. You're getting there within 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes give or take, sometimes the transporting ambulance from Pleasanton or Lacine gets there quicker.
Right.
So let's see. For the whole month, we were scheduled to have 1,488 in-service ambulance unit hours, and we had 1,485. So we were staffed approximately 98 or 99.8% of the time, based on our plan. And then it was a pretty busy month for patients being flown out by helicopter. There were a total of 7 patients flown out by helicopter, and then the categories that those medical emergency or trauma emergency fell in were 2 patients that were experiencing significant cardiac incidents, whether it was a critically low blood pressure or a suspected heart attack. 2 patients experienced significant trauma, and I believe both of those were motor vehicle involved. And then 1 experiencing a medical emergency, and then 2 that were suspected stroke patients. So that's how those broke down.
So if you had somebody in District 3 and you say you have your superintendents there early, but you decide that you need a helo support to medevac them out, is that the time that's figured in there?
For the response time.
Yeah.
So if they're flown, if the
Does
patient,
the ambulance still show up?
yeah,
Because you got to transport them still to a LZ, right?
yep. Typically, there's a few instances where it's a scene flight. It's the terminology we use, where the helicopter actually comes to the scene of the call.
Right.
And that might be if we're not able to get in, extricate the patient very quickly. But if we are able to, our goal is to be out of the scene in 10 minutes, have the patient in the ambulance heading towards the hospital in 10 minutes. And if that's the case, then we rendezvous with the helicopter at, if we're going up to Overland Park Regional, we'll meet the helicopter at an LZ that's on the way there. So we're not wasting time. And so we're not waiting at the scene with the patient, waiting for the helicopter to come. If we're able to package the patient up and start transporting, then they'll meet them at an LZ more in the north part of the town, north part of the county.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What is the average response time for an ambulance to get them here to the county? Do you know?
For a helicopter, usually when we activate, and the time that we activate is before we're on scene. So when our ambulance gets dispatched to a motor vehicle rollover, something that sounds significant, and we have a really detailed criteria for what we will activate a helicopter on. And every year we adjust it a little bit just based on feedback from our field providers. But typically, so we get dispatched, we activate the helicopter within a minute or two. And at that time, it's usually like around a 30-minute response time. And that takes into account usually about a 10-minute liftoff for them to actually get in the air. And then they'll update us. We've set up our radios for interoperability with the helicopter crews. So they'll update our crews when they're, we're in the air, we're coming. Our ETA is actually 15 minutes maybe. So.
Gotcha.
Got anything else?
And so far for the month of February, we're at the end of it, but in the last 7 days, we were trending at about 12 transports in the last 7 days. And we're actually yesterday, we're at 62 transports for the month of February. And so if we get a couple more today, you can see it being a short month. It's been quite busier than the month of January. Volume's picked up quite a bit for ambulance service. So crews are staying busy and doing a good job.
Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too. Doug,
Good morning.
how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good.
Doug Bartlett, Fire and Emergency Management. Our fire report for the week, we went on 9 incidents. We had 4 grass and brush fires that we responded to this past week. 2 calls where we were dispatched and then canceled en route. 1 EMS assist, 1 motor vehicle accident with injuries, and 1 structure fire. Year to date, we're at 67 calls. We do have 2 applications for you. Tommy Moore has applied to be on Station 920 in Pleasanton. They have 13 firefighters currently. Captain has approved his application and would like to hire him as a probationary firefighter. And I believe since you may know him as Chip, but Tommy Moore is a deputy sheriff with our sheriff's department. We could probably waive the physical and drug screen on him at this point, if you wish. The second firefighter application is Kyle Ackerman. He is for Station 950 in Lacine. They have 13 firefighters currently on their roster, and his captain and lieutenants have recommended him. He does come with some experience. We would want to do the physical drug screen and again, the full probation period on him as well.
I'll make a motion. We hire these 2 individuals at a probationary period pending all their tests, and if we can waive the one that's already a deputy sheriff, then So be it. That's my motion.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to hire these two as probationary firefighters. All in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have for you this morning, unless you have something for me.
I don't have anything. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you.
Doug, are your numbers up pretty good in terms of employees?
We're still well low. We've got a couple of stations with 3, 4, or 5 firefighters. Of course, those are our smaller communities that struggle. Lacine and Pleasanton have the highest number in the county. Of course, they're approved for 22 in each of those stations, and we're 13.
Still 13.
So, yeah. So
Nope.
we need a lot more. We've advertised. We're doing everything we can to try to recruit folks.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You got the letter from Missy, said she's not coming, but she said COVID numbers are, the health nurse, COVID numbers are continuing to decline. She's working on annual grants due to March 11th. She said the health advisory meeting went well. We'll meet in March and organize the board. That's all she had. What now? You got anything?
I think I've got some printouts here of stuff that Gary has.
Gary wants to talk.
Yeah, I got some things.
And then we got,
What printouts did I send you? I can't.
I've got the order on the road and
Yeah.
on the gate on the road.
And did we set that for a time or? is
Yep,
it-
10:05.
10
Okay,
o'clock.
so but we can't do that.
Yeah, I don't think we advertised the time. I think I just set it on the agenda.
Yeah, I was thinking we just said we'd do it sometime.
Yeah.
During this meeting.
And then Bobby's gonna have that CUP that these ladies are here for, whenever we get to that too.
Uh,
Well, I've got a couple other things too.
Okay.
We did receive 3 electrical bids on bringing the access into the annex from the new pole. I don't know if you noticed, but the new pole's installed. They cut off the old one and left it there for now because the phone line hadn't been buried yet. But it'll come out when the phone line goes in the ground. Anyway, we received 3 electrical bids. I think I need to read the bids. Fat Boy Electric, that's not, did you have electric company? Yeah.
I do. Look at Gary taking shots already today.
Fat Boy Electric bid with aluminum wire bid 48,600 with copper 52,950. Apple Electric bid their final bid was $30,336, and then Kelly Electric bid 12,000. And so I prepared a contract with Kelly Electric, told him he'd be the.
Did he get the specs and everything right?
Yes, he did. Well, there was one thing that he had not included. So his original bid was 10,000, but there was one thing he had not included, and so he added that in and brought it up to 12. But we would
Say, were the 2 bids besides the first one copper?
they were the Apple bid did not specify copper or aluminum. They said in other documentation that aluminum could be substituted, so I am presuming it was copper, but even that would only make a couple $1,000 difference. And so, anyway, so I have prepared a contract with Kelly Electric. He signed it.
Is it copper or aluminum?
He's using aluminum,
He's aluminum.
and that's fine with Evergy. So he signed it, so we just need to sign it to give him the bid at 12,000.
Well, look at it.
The county guys are working on the demo out here on the concrete. I think Sean anticipated that they would have it done by tomorrow sometime, he's hoping. And then the next step is for Kelly to get his utilities and his electric wire in the ground, get all ready to go, and then Evergy will come back and do the hookup then at some point.
So we need to have a motion for this.
You did have a motion to
You gotta sign it, so I'll make,
give that bid and sign the contract.
you don't get to sign it yet. What are you doing? I'm making my,
What do you do?
I'm not signing it. That's the reason.
I just put one
I'll
zero.
make a motion that we hire Kelly, is it just Kelly Electric? Kelly Electric to install our electrical system from the power pole or from the building over to this building as we described earlier, and in the amount of $12,000.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
The other thing I had for you, we need to advertise on the, lease on the farm ground that, I'll need a copy of that too, David. We need to advertise for the lease on the farm ground in the industrial park over there. The total industrial area that we control, we have a separate lease for a little corner.
Right.
But the part that goes under this lease is 163.2 acres. Only 140.52 acres is actually either tillable or hayable. The rest of it is, draws and stuff. So I don't know if you want to advertise this as a 140.52 acre lease.
I have maps for this, Gary.
Okay, she's got some maps to show the layout.
Maybe a new one with all that included.
Is it, how long, Gary?
We typically do a 3-year lease, but we have a clause written in that if we get a chance to sell that ground for economic development purposes, there are procedures for terminating that lease early.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be,
Figure 171.3 with everything, or this one's 140.52.
that includes this too,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah, I think the 160 included this, but not this, I believe. But
140 tillable, and then the rest is.
tillable or hay, yeah. And that's probably the way to advertise it. And just to include the map, show them what they're getting. But I just want to make sure, because we had some confusion in the past about how many acres were actually written.
You're saying 140 tillable, advertise it that way, and then.
And then include the map with the contract so that it's clear where the tillable acreage is and what's not included. I mean,
Yeah.
If
You
that's-
listed it 100, is that the acreage, 171?
the total acreage we own, the entire, quarter section there plus the piece over here is 171 acres.
So we could say 171 acres, 140
Well-
tillable?
No, because part of that we have leased out to somebody else.
Okay.
So
What motion do you want?
I think a motion to advertise it as 140.52 acres usable ground or tillable ground. And then we'd just have them paid by the acre, on that. I think
And what about the hay ground? What's,
that's included in the 100.
that's in the,
It'd be tillable and hay ground, and let them make the distinction as to which is which, but
You good with it?
I'm good with it.
I am too. So I'll make a motion that we,
advertise for a 3-year lease for 140.52 acres.
that's my motion.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye. Are you trying to get all your stuff done so you can leave?
Would I do that?
Because you can't.
I think that's all I had other than the road road thing. If you want to do that now, we can. We advertised it just during this meeting, and so we can do it anytime.
Oh,
I'm good with it if you good, or.
okay.
Okay, well, let's do it. So this is a public hearing on the proposal to create a minimum maintenance road. The minimum maintenance road is 1200 Lane, beginning at Phillips Road and then running east to the section line, east section line to section 21, township 21, range 24. It's about, a little over a quarter mile, I think, in there. All of the property owners along there joined in the petition. Everybody that abuts this wants it.
So what we're doing, we're actually they're putting a gate across the road.
Well, yeah.
Landowner will,
That's the second part of it, yeah. We're declaring it minimum maintenance so that we won't maintain it at all. It'll be theirs to maintain. And then I've got an order to allow them to gate it, and they'll all have access to the gate. The minimum maintenance will be basically a permanent situation. I mean, you can rescind it, but it's basically permanent. The gate can be rescinded just by a vote anytime if there's reason to do so. So we've got two separate orders, an order creating minimum maintenance road and an order to allow a gate across the road. They,
So does he need to ask if there's any public comment on it?
yeah, so that's what we're doing. So then we need to see if there's any public comment.
Any public comment on making this a minimum maintenance road, 1,200?
You know what we're talking about?
There is none.
There's none. So, if, what I would suggest, David has copies of the order signed. You vote on the order to declare a minimum maintenance road, and then you have a separate vote on the order to allow gating of the road.
Motion that we make it declared a minimum maintenance road for 1,200 line.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And the second one's gonna be that we gate
Yeah, you put a gate.
road and all landowners get the key to the gate.
Yep.
That's my motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was all I had.
Okay. You guys want to go now?
No, they need Sean. We need Sean because he's got all the paperwork.
Okay.
Hey, Galen, I know you're not a runner, but would you be? Yes, Sean. Thank you.
Burton, would you like to go right now? Sure. You won't take over 30 minutes, right?
Well, he's an attorney, so.
Burton Harding, County Attorney. Just a quick update. Last time I was here, I talked to you about my need for a software next year and jury trial stuff. So just want to update you. Last week, we invited a sales rep from the software, the company who I think I mentioned services all the surrounding counties and apparently 30 counties in Kansas. Was pretty impressed by the presentation. It looks good, and better than that, it looks significantly cheaper than I thought it was going to be. So that's a good deal too. Again, that's not something I'm going to be needing this year, but just next year, that'd be something I'll have to ask for to purchase that new software as the ones we have expires. The only thing I'll need this year is I think we have to pay in the neighborhood of like a $5,000 licensing fee. That's something I need to talk to David or maybe the treasurer's office about whether or not, I think I may have that money in my diversion fee fund that I've got, so I won't need anything from the county. But if I do over and above what's in there, it shouldn't be very much. But that looks like it's going well. We don't have jury trial dates just yet, but again, that's coming up in anticipation for that. I've reached out to a lot of the victims and family members of the trials that I anticipate going. And based on my conversations with them and the attorneys, looks like several of them we may be able to work out ahead of time. So that's a good deal, but at least a couple are still going to be going, but we're making progress there. And then finally, I posted a part-time job description or a part-time job opening for just a assistant in the office. I think we posted that last week or week before. I haven't had any applicants just yet. So if anyone knows anyone who's interested in part-time work, then I'd be happy to hear from them.
So what's your predictions? Who's going to be the judge? I'm just being honorary, You ain't going to tell me, are you?
I don't know. I really have no knowledge. I actually hear, when I talk to people, I hear people with strong opinions both ways, and no one knows anything. But,
Yeah, I know.
But I know that they had their first round. They have 2 interviews with the governor's office. They had their first one last week, and their next one, I think, is next week. I think it's the 7th. And then the governor, I think, should have a decision the week after that. So I'd say within 2 or 2.5 weeks, we should know.
Well, Gary gave a lot of money to the governor, so I'm sure he might be sneaking in there, huh? Well, be the judge.
He may know the answer better than me, but really, no one knows. I don't know.
No.
I think it's a pretty close heat. I think I don't.
Your the new building, your offices. Are we doing shades? Is that what we're doing?
There are blinds.
Blinds?
Plan, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they're going to put some material over the window to shade it and have blinds. Is that right?
It's supposed to be tinted.
Mm-hmm.
the tenting may not, the tenting may be on there now, which means it may be unsatisfactory.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any, I mean, as long as there's blinds, that's the
They're
main.
going to
Yeah,
be blind.
pretty bright in there. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little hot box in
Make
there.
you sweat.
Winter, I guess.
Yeah. That southern sun gets in there, but anyway.
You won't have to look at the utility pole.
Yeah, I heard-
Everybody's getting poked at today.
It's a tough one, man. It's still.
That's our inside joke we've been fighting over.
I think that's all the updates I got for you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Burton.
No problem. Thank you.
Are we ready
I
for
think Bob.
Yeah, Bobby's,
Bobby? Would you like to come ahead?
Morning, Commissioners. Bobby Young, Planning and Zoning Director. What I have for you today is, comes for a resolution on a conditional use permit. This is going to be to permit the construction and operation of a spa resort within the agricultural area of Linn County. This was heard before the Planning and Zoning Board on February 8th and was recommended for approval on a vote of 8-1 to approve with conditions.
Well, why did one abstain or not vote no?
Pardon?
Why did one vote no?
That was not asked. I have no idea why he voted no.
Okay.
I do have the applicant that is here with a PowerPoint presentation
Sure.
to give to you. I don't know if you want to obtain that before you hear anything further from me, or if you want me to go ahead and go through with what.
Go ahead go through your details.
Okay.
I want to see the presentation.
Resolution for permit to establish an operation of spa resort in the A agricultural zone. Would be resolution number 2022-12 for a conditional use permit of 22-02. Whereas Linn County, Kansas is a county municipal government with authority to adopt zoning regulations and creating zoning district boundaries as provided in KSA 12-753. And whereas Linn County did adopt countywide zoning regulations on June 22nd, 1981. And whereas Linn County Planning Commission did on January 19th, 2022, publish a notice of public hearing to consider conditional use permit number 22-02 pursuant to KSA 12-757B. And whereas Linn County Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on February 8th, 2022, to consider said conditional use permit for the authorization to construct and operate a spa resort with a main house structure and 6 cabins within the agricultural zone. And whereas the Planning Commission, after review and consideration of all plans, reports, and testimonies, did, by a vote of 8-1, recommend approval of said conditional use permit based on the following findings. The application conforms to the adopted comprehensive plan. The application is in the agricultural area. Property has been operating as unused agricultural land since being zoned. Property is suitable for the proposed use.
just the first thing.
Proposed use will not likely have a negative effect on nearby properties to any great extent. The water supply will be obtained by applicant at applicant's expense. Staff recommends approval of the application and subject to the following conditions. The use shall be operated as proposed on submitted plans and documents in compliance with Linn County zoning regulations 10.03 and all local, state, and federal regulations affecting such businesses. That all applicable required license be obtained and remain current in compliance with any local, state, and federal regulations governing such businesses. That property remains in full compliance with all fire safety regulations, Linn County nuisance regulations, and Linn County sanitation regulations. That the construction of facilities will begin within 1 year from approval of the conditional use permit. That the conditional use be renewed at the end of 5 years from the approval date. That the conditional use permit applies only to the east 47 acres of the property described in section 1. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners, Linn County, after review of the recommendations of the Planning Commission, together with all public comment, finds to issue conditional use permit number 22-02 as recommended by the Planning Commission on property currently described in section 1. Section 1, 127.3 acres, the north half and northeast quarter, and lot 1, less road right-of-way of section 30, township 22, range 22, Linn County, Kansas. Passed and adopted by Linn County Board of Commissioners this 28th day of February 2022. You have anything further that you'd like to ask me?
Nope. Do you?
I don't have anything.
Would you like to come up and do your presentation, please? Thank you. Just state your name so it'll be on record.
Good morning, gentlemen,
Morning.
commissioners. My name is Karen Ann Webster. I am the owner of Holispa LLC. Holispa represents a holistic spa experience. I'm a holistic intuitive, and I work with clients to help improve their life mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. You have the statement there, so I won't belabor the reading of it, but this space really expands my work and the ability to work with clients at a deeper level. It is meant to operate as a private rental experience. It is a boutique with 6 cabins and a main house. So we're not going to be entertaining loads and loads of people. The whole idea is for people to come to get away and have a very quiet, reclusive experience. So I prepared today, and hopefully I can connect here. So it's called Nestle Breath Retreat in the Cedars at Blue Mound, and a holistic retreat for personal wealth, private glamping rentals for individuals and small groups. So essentially, when I'm not having a retreat program going, it would be available for people to rent as a glamping experience for like a weekend or a week or that kind of thing. The conceptual plan will cover the amenities. So the idea here is to blissfully unplug in nature. It will have walking trails, personal reflections in the Peace Garden. Okay, doesn't want to. Okay, I guess we stopped. That's okay. I think, oh, now it's working. Okay. So I'll just stand here. So we're going to have personal meditation domes and hammocks throughout the property. There will be a sky view deck that will allow for viewing at night with a telescope, sunrise, sunset, all part of the experience. Fire pit, being able to gather peacefully in the evenings. There will be a swimming pond. We will find an appropriate location for that on the property. A wood barrel sauna. So these are just part of the amenities. There will be an energy spa studio for yoga, breathwork, and meditation. The accommodations will be a geodesic dome. These allow for the free flow of energy, panoramic views, and lots of light. So it's a very healing space for people to be in. And the domes themselves come in PVC or tinted glass. These are temporary structures that can be put up and taken down in just a matter of days. And this is sort of the layout for each one. There's 2 different sizes. There'll be 4 of the 20-foot domens on the top and 2 of the 20 by 30 that has a separate bathroom space. The main house complex is dining, sleeping, and the spa dome. There'll also be a greenhouse dome. And this is an approximate layout of how we see the cabins on the property in relation to the property lines and the main house. And this shows the approximate location the 47 acres on the east end. The main build site approximated where the water line would come in. The placement for the water lines to run, potentially the electric being brought in. We're going to start with solar. That was preferred. If solar proves not sufficient enough, then we can move to bring in the electric, and we would bury the lines as opposed to doing poles. Would be preferable. And sewage waste management holding tanks. For each cabin will have its own separate holding tank, and it'll be serviced and pumped regularly. And that's it.
So when do you expect to start and be complete by?
I'm closing on the property at the end of March.
Okay.
And then the process would begin of, just being able to purchase everything and bringing in. We've been starting small, likely with just 1 or 2 cabins to just get the feel of the land and the flow and develop it over the course of the next 3 years.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't have any. What,
If you're ready to do it, you just, what was the resolution number? 2022-12?
12.
Yes, 2022.
You want to adopt the findings of the planning commission and approve resolution 2022-12?
That's my motion.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good
Jen.
luck.
Thank you so much.
This should be soon.
Okay, yep. Sign that, Ruth. Yeah, what? You want to come ahead, Jessica, or you? Let Sean wait.
Jessica Hightower, Economic Development. I've got a couple of things today. First of all, I am the base grant we talked about.
Just the one, right?
Just the one. Yes. There's plenty. The application is due today. I'm all ready to turn it in. I just need from you guys an okay on the matching portion. So the project that we're requesting is to take the 157 acres, that's the larger parcel at the industrial park south of Pleasanton, and get it listed as a certified site with the Department of Commerce, and also get it shovel ready. So get all the utilities to it, do the environmental studies that we would need to do to get it all ready, so that we can market it, as shovel ready. It's much, much more attractive that way to potential businesses that would come into the area. In speaking with our local utilities and our engineer on call, we've estimated the project at $1.4 million total. Our matching portion would be $350,000, with $140,000 also set back for a contingency reserve. That's 10% of the total. And that can come out of ARPA funds. We do not have
The
to.
10% can come out of ARPA
You
funds?
can both, yes.
I thought we could use it all.
All
The
what?
whole thing, the whole,
Yeah.
match and percent.
Okay.
Yes, yes, it can all come out of ARPA funds.
Okay.
The 350 and the.
Yes. And we can, since we already have the funds in place, we can, according to Taylor, we could wait to see if we get the base grant to officially allocate those funds to the base grant matching, since we already have the funds in our control. So
Okay.
we don't have to do that today. But our total portion would be $490,000 with those two added together. And the amount that we're requesting from the base grant is $1,050,000 for this project.
Just need a motion.
Just need a motion to authorize her to submit the grant application.
Have we got the study back as far as what we got available for water and gas?
It's not a study, but I have spoken to the utilities, and they're in the vicinity. They're just not to the property. So
So part of the cost that you'll be spending here is the actual design of how to do that.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I don't.
No? Okay. 1.4. Sorry.
And that'll be, the ARPA money will be what we got to 1.9 or whatever.
Now that 1.9 you're going to take, and then the base grant's going to, yeah, a majority of it. Yeah. I think it's a
And,
smart
and,
move.
and if if we're not awarded the base grant, then we wouldn't, I mean, that money would just stay in the ARPA funds. Everyone is telling me that this is a really competitive grant. Everybody across the state is applying for this. There's 100 million total to award
Well,
statewide.
if you're a good grant writer, we'll get it, won't we?
I mean, I've been working on it for 2 weeks. So
right.
we'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
Are you all right with it?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the grant application
Yep.
for the base grant for 1.4 million. Is that what it is?
Yep.
For
That's
the
project.
improvements and plating out the industrial park certifying. Is that right?
Certified site. Yeah.
Okay. Make it a certified site. That's my motion.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The other thing I have today, I have been for the last few weeks working with 3 other local counties, so Miami, Anderson, and Franklin, to put together a childcare initiative. All 4 of our counties are lacking in childcare availability. I think ours is like we have 25 or 27%. I think it was 27% of the spots for what's needed. So we've got a huge gap to fill in our county. We have a meeting scheduled, kind of a kickoff meeting with all 4 counties on this Friday in Paola. It's going to run from 10 in the morning until 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon. I have several people who are interested in being involved in the initiative here if we were to form a committee after this meeting, but I've only got 1 or 2 that are able to actually go to the meeting on Friday. I wondered if either of you would be interested in going to the meeting on Friday in Paola. I know it's all day, and I know everybody's busy, but I mean, I really think it would be good if we could have more than 2 people for representing
Well,
our
Danny's
county.
not here, so he might be. I just won't be here.
Okay.
I won't be here, period.
That's all day Friday,
It's from 10 to 3:30, yeah.
10 to 3:30.
We are doing lunch.
Feeding them cows early, you make
If that helps.
What if I don't make it the whole time?
I mean, if you can only come a little bit,
There
that
you
would be
go. Suck it
fine.
right into that.
Fine.
30, have lunch and leave.
Show up at noon and leave at 1,
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
10 to 3:30, you said,
Yeah.
at Paola?
Yep.
I'll try to make it. I can. I guess I can try.
If you can't make it all day, that's okay. I think it would be helpful to have Anderson and Franklin.
Where?
It's at the 4-H Extension office, the new one.
Did you ask the health department people if they had anybody interested?
I did. I asked Amanda Snyder. She's not able to make the meeting, but she's very interested in being involved.
4-H Extension Office?
Yes.
Okay. And that's Friday.
And I do have a couple people who haven't gotten back to me yet, but I mean,
Well, if they do show up or say they can, I may back out on you. But
okay, I'll let you know. Thank you.
I'll try to get there.
Thanks. Do you guys have anything for me?
You got anything?
Okay.
Comprehensive plan, I just want to ask about it. Where are we at on it?
We're planning the open house, which is March 26th at 2:00 at the 4-H building.
How come so far away? That's a Saturday too.
It is a Saturday. It's a Saturday on purpose so that people are not, we can get people who would be at work normally. We didn't want to do it in the evening.
And what's the hopes in accomplishing something there? Did we already do everything we needed to do?
So what we're doing is Jennifer will give a presentation, 20 minutes or so at the beginning. We're going to broadcast that. I've gotten with Chris. We're going to broadcast that on our YouTube channel. So if anybody can't make it, they can still watch if they're interested. Just kind of give updates, tell them where we're at, what the goals we settled on, and the details involved in those. And then we're going to have 5 different stations set up around the room, one for each goal, and we'll have committee members manning those stations to answer any questions,
Thank you,
take any,
Karen.
take
Thank you so
any
much. I'm sorry.
suggestions that anyone has, anything like that. We are going to have door prize, a gift basket. We're going to hand out cards or tickets, and they can, enter to win the gift basket. We're also going to do a competition for the cover photo. So people are going to be able to submit to me up to 2 pictures that they've taken of Linn County, be entered in a drawing. It's going to be a public vote that day. So we're just trying to keep the public involved and engaged.
When's it going to be done?
I don't know. I can't give you a date.
So,
When's it going to be signed off on? We don't know.
I don't know.
You're not talking 6 more months. You're talking.
I don't think so. We're getting to the end. We really are. We've got, the goals are finalized. We're just kind of working out the details on some of the wording to put in the plan, things like that.
talked last week about the Starlink. What if we set up some guidelines of some kind, had brought Chris in and Jessica and maybe even you, Gary, I don't know, to set up some guidelines to where that might be an option for internet for people out that cannot get other options. But they've got to go through certain steps to prove that they've tried
Okay.
different situations and the speed of the internet, what's available to them. Could we do something like that?
You're talking about qualifications really for funding under the ARPA.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
which
what
really didn't have anything to do with this.
These are, they're 2 different things, but
Right.
that's,
But we talked
Yeah.
about that.
yes, we did.
I think discussion of how people would qualify to do that would be perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
There's people in this county that can't get anything, as far
Right.
except for the Verizon or something like that. And this deal works really well.
I don't know if our grant people at Southeast Kansas would have any samples of how other counties have done that or not.
The samples that she has sent me have not been that specific. They were before the new final rule, so they were focused on minimum required
Consistent.
speeds. Yes. So I don't know if there's anything that's come out since the new ruling has come out, as far as examples of what other counties have done. And honestly, everyone has been focused on base grant the last 2 weeks, so we haven't talked about ARPA. But now that the base grant is due today, we'll be done with that, and we can focus back on ARPA. So
So if we could set up some guidelines that
Yeah.
make people prove that they've tried different things, because
Does that mean we have to wait on the, getting the specifications and the bid out or the request for proposal out for Peoples and Qualcomm? Quickcom or whatever they're called?
I wouldn't think so, because
Jim, do you mean to have that as 2 different projects, or do you want it all combined into one?
No, because I don't think the other 2 necessarily may
it's
not
going to be a
be
completely
separate.
different company if you go with this company.
Right.
Because, it's a set.
This would be,
Yeah,
I
you're
think
talking
it would be
about-
separate,
Yeah,
right?
you're talking about 2 separate things. You're talking about hardwired stuff where they're willing to do it.
Right.
And they're making proposals, and you're waiting on those proposals. And then in the areas that those don't cover,
Right.
you're talking about some individual satellite.
And this is actually a fixed cost already. You know what it's going to cost.
Right.
And you know the speed if people qualify to get help.
So you'd be looking at individual grants to people for access, as opposed to giving it to some company to do it. You'd be giving them individual grants,
Well, and I would have to look and see if
if that's
we
possible.
if we would purchase the product from the company, or if we give the individual the grant to purchase the product. I'm not sure, but it's basically, either way, it's the same end result.
What about the first one I just talked about? When are we going to be ready to go out for that?
So before we can send that out, we have to get the motion. I'm going to try to get it from Taylor this week. We're not focused on base anymore, so we can work on this one. But we need to, if we're going to, we need to move the funds to we need to qualify them as lost revenue, like what she talked about last week. Once we do that, then the restrictions on our RFP will be loosened. So then we can,
I thought we did that last week, but then we vote on that?
no, we didn't. She's going to send me a sample motion.
You may have voted to ask her to prepare it, something like that, but it's got to be done in a resolution,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so hopefully I'll have that next week. I'm going to call Taylor here as soon as I get my other one submitted and work on that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay?
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
John?
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. I don't have a lot for you this week. I was gone part of last week with illness. The parking lot next door, we're still working on that. We've got some equipment issues that should be resolved. We're waiting on some parts today for the track hoe, but we should be back to work, I'm being told, tomorrow on that project. Hopefully, finishing up shortly thereafter with the removal of the concrete. I talked to Warren. We're going to leave him a path to get the trailer out. And then we look to wrap up our part of that this week on that project. I'm also working on a county engineer road supervisor's annual report that I just got. I'll be working on that for a little bit to turn the numbers in, and I'll pass that by you as well. Another project, I've got the information that I'll be presenting, I'll push out to you this week on the buyback for the graders so that we can talk about it in the coming weeks. But there's a 7-year, 7,000-hour buyback on the 3 most recent graders that we purchased. And as I said, I got all the information from the vendor on it that I'll push out to you. The park, I made an attempt to contact by phone and got no answer, no voicemail. But I'll continue to look at the park lease and try to get back to you on that and get some answers. I looked at some projects around the Centerville area. I'm meeting with Kevin on some signage and other things in that area. And we've got one more interview, I'm being told, for our planning and zoning and codes before we'll try to get a decision to you and make a recommendation next week. And if possible, I would like 5 minutes for non-elected personnel. And that's what I have for you this week.
While Sean's here, I might just say we have worked on the RFP for the mowing. We've been working on that some back and forth, and when we get that at a point where we feel like it's complete, you'll want to put out an ad for that.
Bids.
And so people to make proposals. What we've set it up with a separate, I call them areas for the 7 cities, the 7 towns involved, and then sites within that. And so anybody that wants to bid would bid by the city. They say, I want to bid on this city, so that means I'm going to bid on these 2 sites. Or I'm going to bid on this city, so I'm bidding on these 5 sites. And that's kind of how we have it structured, so. And you went through.
I went through, marked it, and sent it back to you.
Yeah. So.
J mowing is coming. Jimmy Johnson.
You don't have to worry about that.
LLC.
So we are working on that still, and we'll try to have some soon.
My Swather, maybe. Is that it then?
Yes.
Did we get anything on the bids on the tanks as far as the holding tank or any other bids on our?
What Jessica is telling me is that we've got another company coming to look at the site this week that's going to give us a bid. But they did want to see the site before they gave a bid on it.
Okay,
But she is working on that project.
sounds good. That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Harry got something or?
Oh, haven't heard right on it. It's doing the same thing, so they told us to bring it back up there, which it takes two guys in case it quits running on the way up there. And then we got wiring problems on some of the other ones that won't shift past third gear. The truck's gonna be expensive this year.
That's the one we put the motor in?
Yeah, that one's gotta go back up there for them to put on the computer again. We just got it Friday. So we're taking it back up there and
Our guys drive it back down here?
yep.
They drove by and coming down?
Donnie drove it down here and he said it didn't have no power. I was gonna send it to haul some gravel today and, same thing. I just wanted to tell you, that's it. And our track hoe, we're supposed to get a switch for it, so I can finish this job up here.
Okay,
Thanks, Harry.
thanks, sir.
Well, I was gone Friday and Thursday.
Anything else? We just need 5 minutes. Sean needs 5 minutes for,
I don't know if the, Donna from, United Way's coming or not. Maybe I'll try to get a hold of her while we're back there.
anybody else have any executive session? So we need 5 minutes for non-elected personnel. Sean, that's my motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Come on, Sean, 5 minutes ain't long for you.
What's that? Do it all in donuts? I'll leave cash.
Let's have a seat up here.
There was no action from the executive session. How are you all?
Good, how are you?
Jim Johnson's
Nice to meet you,
Commissioner.
Jim. I'm Donna.
Donna.
This is Jason.
So I asked Donna to come over because she knows my wife, of course, and just scoot on up here and just that way we won't have to stand up. If you want to stand up for the podium,
Sure.
Jason, come on. All right. And Donna's is the first executive director.
First executive director, yep, that
Yes.
we've ever hired, yep.
Not only Miami County, but it covers some other stuff. So just tell us a little. Did you have something you're looking at me?
Well, executive director of what?
Okay. Well, we're called the United Way of Miami County, but our service area extends beyond.
It used to be called the United Way of Paola,
Yeah.
and then we changed it to Miami County because it didn't really fit, and it's a whole long process to make that change, let me tell you.
So I started in October and I was hired, I'm part-time, and I was hired to cover some administrative duties within the United Way of Miami County and fundraising, of course, and community outreach, which is why I'm here, really. Well, I'm here because you invited me, but I can tell you before you even invited me, you were on my list of areas to
Good.
meet.
Just tell us. Some people are unfamiliar with what United Ways do.
Right.
I'm
So
very educated in it. Wow.
I'll kind of give you the history. The United Way was founded in Paola. Well, actually, it used to be called the United Fund. And that was about 40 years ago. Is that correct? And then it evolved to the United Way or joined the United Way in what year?
Late 80s,
Some-
changed our name a couple times.
Sometime in the last 40 years. We have raised and given almost $2 million back to the communities that we cover. We fund approximately 8 agencies. The United Way, the agenda is to fund agencies that service health, financial stability, and education. So that's our primary focus.
And those are 501c3, and they have to be approved by the United Way.
Correct, and
Prior to
current
that.
on their taxes and all of that good stuff. So we do a once-a-year application process, which we are in right now. We have received 6 applications, I believe, and we plan to distribute approximately 35,000 this year. Our goal over the last year was to raise $60,000. I mean, that's an ambitious goal. Of course, I hope to achieve that, but we'll see. I'll do my best because this is all very new to me. And Allison's been wonderful in helping me. There's a lot to learn about the United Way and a lot to learn about the need of these communities in our area. The need is obviously there. Some of the agencies that we have previously funded include Elizabeth Layton Center, Children's Mercy, which we know Children's Mercy serves all of us in this region, and I know of some specific examples here in Linn County. My father's house, which is a transitional housing in Paola. I'm anxious to learn more about what agencies you have here.
Have you looked at the 501c3s that's on file
I
here?
have, and I couldn't find a lot.
Okay.
So
There's probably not a lot, but there.
And we actually used to, and I'll kind of give it a little bit of the historical background. So, we were United Way of Paola, and about 5-10 years ago, we kind of looked at ourselves. We went through some strategic planning and said, well, the bottom line is we're ultimately raising money from all of Miami County, including some of Linn County, and then also we get money from other places around the country because they can funnel it to our United Way. Maybe it's somebody who lives in Chicago now, but's from Paola or from Osawatomie and that. And so we said, well, we need to change our name because it's kind of a misnomer because 75-80% of the agencies weren't Paola anyways. They were American Red Cross, Salvation Army, and most of those agencies don't have boundaries. There's a few that'll say, oh, we only serve this community or only serve that community. But ultimately, even the Osawatomie Community Garden, which we have funded in the past, and they do food for residents. They're like, we don't care if they're from Paola or from Fontana or wherever. And so, so that was the first part, and the way United Way is organized is,
nationally, it's by zip code essentially. And so we have all the zip codes in Miami County, and then we have one zip code, the northeastern zip code in Linn County. And we've always had that. The northwestern zip code in Linn County actually is affiliated with United Way of Franklin County, and then in Ottawa. And then the 5 zip codes in the southern part of the county are actually affiliated with United Way of Greater Kansas City, which is kind of odd because it's not contiguous, it hops over and goes down. And then if you went to Bourbon County, for instance, all of those, not all of them, but most of them are either United Way of Nevada, Missouri, or United Way of Southwest Missouri and Joplin and Southeastern Kansas. So that's how it is. And really the 2 parts to that are who raises money. Like technically we're not supposed to go into a zip code that Kansas City has and try and do a workplace campaign. Now, zip codes can change, and that actually happens. So the Linn County zip code 7-8 years ago was actually tied to Topeka.
Yeah.
And so we went to Topeka, and they're like, they didn't understand why they had it, because they have no tie over here. And so it was easy to give it up. We've never tried that with Kansas City because we don't know if Kansas City actually serves down here or not. We wouldn't want to, usurp them if they don't. But if my guess would say this is outside of their area, the only reason they might want is if they ever wanted to take over our United Way, which, they've never approached us, so we don't know. And so we've raised anywhere from $30,000 to $110,000 a year over the last 15 or 20 years. We were really high probably 10 years ago in the $120,000 range. Evergy, formerly PCP&L, was our biggest chunk. But then when the service center at Paola started dwindling down, there was a lot of retirements. That number kind of came down. Our largest funding partner at this point would be Taylor Forge Industries. And Taylor Forge does a significant amount, both from their employees and then they match from their company. And then we have everything from Walmart to you name it for small. And then we have a lot of individual giving. Particularly towards the end of the year to give, and then we distribute that money every year. Basically every year, we had obviously COVID threw a wrench into everything for everybody, and that we brought some just some flyers so you can kind of see some of the nature, and and really, Donna mentioned 8 agencies. We've funded anywhere from 8 to 21. I think was the most agencies we've funded in a year, and it really just depends on who applies. Surprisingly, during COVID, a lot of agencies either weren't providing services, so they didn't have need for money, so they didn't apply. And even Children's Mercy kind of scaled back. They weren't applying to some of the smaller ones at that point. And so we actually funded an agency in Linn County for probably about 7 or 8 years ago for 2 or 3 years. And I can't remember the name of it, but what happened was they didn't have a 501c3 status. But they primarily served up in the Lacine, and they served all of Linn County, but I think they were more based up in that area. And I wanted to look it up, and I have to go back and find our records to find it. The problem was at that point, United Way was not, I don't want to say cracking down, but they were really starting to say, hey, look, you've got to stop funding agencies that don't have C3 status. And so we talked to them about it. I think they either said they were going to, or then they just decided not to apply anymore. So, I went through and looked at the list, we pulled through GuideStar and stuff, and there's not a ton, but we have the thing that's unique because we're small and we're much more flexible maybe than a lot of the larger United Ways. We've got some flexibility to do some things on our own. So if an agency had a particular project but didn't have that status, they could do it through a church. They could do it through us. I mean, we're starting to do, as Rick, you probably know, a lot of United Ways are starting to do their own program. It used to be you only funded other people. Well, now United Ways are starting to get, because what they're finding is maybe there's a need in a community that's not being met. There's not an organization to meet it. And so United Ways start a program. And so as an example, about 4 years ago, we noticed that back to school was a tough time in Paola, and kids weren't ready for school. And so one of our board members, who happens to sit on a foundation board, works at the school district, he kind of spearheaded a group, and we now have this back to school, really great back to school event in July that's really geared towards getting kids ready back to come back to school. And we get about 200 kids a year who come through it. They get everything from haircuts to dental checkups to vision stuff. They get the backpacks, and the Lions or Kiwanis give the backpacks. They clothing vouchers from Walmart, shoe vouchers, stuff like that. Well, and then it went, now Osawatomie does that now, and they've done it for a couple of years. And so it's starting to grow and catch on. And so that was just something unique. We saw the need and we were able to do it. And we fund a little bit of it, and then a lot of it's privately funded. And that's ultimately, how it works. And so really, we wanted to come today, and it kind of, Don and I were talking about it. It wasn't so much about, we're not coming here to ask for money. We really just want to learn more about Linn County. What can we help with? What are the needs that are here? Because ultimately the money will follow the needs. And if we provide services, the money will follow. And it kind of works hand in hand. And so if there are things, there are other parts to United Way. It's obviously much more complex, as Rick will know. 211 being a big thing. We didn't pull a 211 report for Linn County, but we know, like as an example, over a year, I can't remember, it was 186 calls in Miami County. Biggest amount of calls was on utility assistance, particularly electrical utility.
Are you familiar with 211?
So you can kind of call like 911 if you're having a problem and you have needs. You can dial 211. It'll route through the 211 network. Donna has something there, and so you lose your house. You're homeless. And so we pulled some data, and much of the stuff that you guys are probably familiar with in Linn County, like poverty rates and free and reduced lunch. So obviously the need is here, just like it is in Miami County. And it's just a matter of figuring out how can we help you or help the county best serve the residents and that within our.
It's a confidential, and that's something I would like to help gain some more exposure to it in this area, because I think folks don't know about it.
Do we need to, as a county, go and request the 5 zip codes that's currently, because the greater Kansas City, they just merged together too.
Yeah.
I have-
So it's we
have a
would be
form.
non-existent here.
Right. I have a form I can send you to register
Okay.
any areas that you want. And it
Wouldn't you
all-
think that would be smart to get our zip codes under somebody that's,
Definitely.
We didn't know if they had been serving down there. We would not, but if they're not, I think we could go through that process. It's not a hard process, and just say, hey, we'd like you to release.
do you know, Jackie, have you heard anything in the paper or anybody from United Ways? I didn't think so. I haven't.
So it is a United Way program. It's, I just found out the other day that they have 35 full-time employees in their call center. So it is, it's a legit program, and it's not limited to just United Way agencies. It's any resource available out there. So
from year to year, like you mentioned, Evergy, did you go out to?
We tried to, but a lot of our companies have moved, some of them are just different. Like Evergy now is so consolidated centrally, so they don't have people coming in. There used to be a gas company over in Lewisburg that every year we would go, myself and Vicky would go a lot of times. She's on our board. She's the human resource director for the city of Paola. Her and I would go make a presentation. Sometimes like Taylor Forge, for their company where they're raising money, they'll bring in somebody to come in, somebody from our board, and then we'll try and bring in an agency to come and talk, just so that when we're raising money, it comes from the agency. Because we can sing their praises all they want, but when the agency can get up there, and in this case, my father's house, when she can get up there and say, this is what homeless looks like in our community. And I tell people all the time, use our counties here. I live in Franklin County. Homeless here is way different than homeless in Kansas City. You see people on the street corner. My kids, they recognize that. They don't recognize the person living in their car on some back road or in somebody's backyard, that's homeless. And that's a problem for our communities that we can help maybe alleviate a little bit, that type of thing.
And when you say you go out there, that's during the CFC, the Combined Federal Campaign?
So we have never traditionally, you'll laugh at this. So when I joined, I've been on the board for United Way in Miami County for about 10 years. And when I joined the board, my first question is, well, how do I make a pledge? I thought, as a board member, that's important. And they're like, oh, I don't know. They gave me a pledge card. I'm like, so when do you call to collect it? They're like, we don't. You just mail us a check. And I was like, oh, okay. And surprisingly, I was shocked, because it's not like other United Ways where you get a pledge, or we used to work for the YMCA, and then they would collect on it on paychecks or whatever. Literally, people just mailed us checks. And so we have gotten to that point, but now with Donna, we're going to be, that's our goal, is to move more to a campaign season in the fall where we get companies. We're started talking to some of our banks and some of the companies who've never traditionally done it. Our cities, actually, the city of Lewisburg, we've been up to Lewisburg because we've never really done a lot in Lewisburg. And we know there's need up there. And so the city of Lewisburg said, hey, we would be interested in having a little competition to get our employees and the employees in Paola and Osawatomie or wherever to all contribute, and it's, as you probably know, Rick, it's surprising when employees only give, even if an employee gives $1 a paycheck or $100 a year, which is like $3.72 a paycheck, that adds up over time. And next thing you know, you've got 10 or 20 or $50,000 to give back to your community. And it's kind of that out of sight, out of mind type thing. And the nice thing from United Way's perspective is we're vetting these agencies. They go through an application process. Traditionally, we've done an interview where they've come in and we'll sit down with them and talk with them. Some years we'll actually go out and visit their sites. So really, what I'll say is we're, as a United Way, we're growing up now. We're getting a little bit, trying to become more sophisticated, more mainstream with the other United Ways, but knowing that we retain a little bit of that flexibility because we are still small.
So by the opportunity of getting these zip codes changed, and plus the one we already have, will allow you to go through the CFC to FabCon, some of these other bigger companies.
Correct.
During the campaign and ask employees after you give them a presentation to
Yes.
pledge $1 or whatever amount they can for that year. And then, so if the opportunity that does happen, we could get that done. Would you allow somebody from the Linn County to be on your board?
We would love it.
Okay.
That would actually be our hope, is that we would get, when we switched to Miami County, we specifically targeted Osawatomie as a start. We got 3 or 4 new board members from Osawatomie. We'd love to come down here and get a few people from down here. We're trying to get somebody up in the Lewisburg area, in the eastern part of Miami County. Our goal would be to have, and then be flexible. We've talked about, we're moving our meetings around. We've already started moving some of our board meetings to Osawatomie, so that way people aren't just driving all to one. Really, if we're going to be a 2-county model, we can't just have everything done in Paola.
Right.
Is the way we look at it. And so being a little bit more flexible in that respect.
And obviously, I'm sure this goes without saying, but just the primary benefit of the United Way to the agencies not only is the funding, but they're so busy just trying to keep up with what they do, that trying to raise money is tough. And so this really helps them. It gives.
It does. And just having the opportunity to have that name out there, United Way is pledging, to give us
Credibility.
this amount. Yeah.
Are there organizations off the top of your head that you see, use an example, and I living in rural Franklin County, I know if my neighbor's house burned down, it's the neighbors all come together, and that's still part of living where we live, but there are still agencies out there that help. Does the Red Cross spring into action and help, or do you see that type of, or is it really through the churches? I thought a sign for a food pantry.
We have concern here
Okay.
in the churches.
Okay. Now, have they been around for a long time?
Yes. Time.
See, they're an agency that sounded familiar, and I wondered if at some point they were ones that had applied for money, but maybe not.
Used to be named Concern. Is it still Concern?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so those would be the agencies. What we would hope to do, is to go out and visit with them and say, hey, look, we want you to, apply for money. If you don't need it, that's okay. But we're here. What are the resources we can help bring or connect you with? That type of thing.
Helps a lot of people in the county. That
Yeah.
place does.
Yeah.
And a lot of the churches, I think, throughout the communities pull together, and the harvesters I can think of, they get a lot of food for the Methodist churches, our distributor in Lacine that does
Is
the
that
food pantries.
So Harvesters comes down.
Yeah,
on a
well,
monthly basis probably.
Yeah, they drop off to the church there, and then there's some donors over in Lacine that donate to the seniors actually
Yeah.
to do
Senior
programs.
Center's a good example. Obviously the population here skews a little bit older in Linn County than, up there. We've funded pretty regularly. The Paola Senior Center has applied for money. And there was a time where we actually had raised $120,000. We only got like $80,000 of requests. And so we actually went out, did a secondary thing and asked some of our people, what we could do on more of a capital basis. And so we helped put new air conditioning units in the Paola Senior Center. We got a tractor for one of the other agencies that needed it. So when we have those types of opportunities, I mean, that money is basically just going right back, as you know, going
Right.
back out into the community. So.
Yeah.
So yes, that's really it. That's really what we're here for today, is just to let you know about us. And, if there's anything we can do, we want to start making some inroads down here. If you have ideas for board members, if you have ideas for agencies besides Concern that we should visit with.
Which zip code are you with now in Linn County? You said you had one?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Which
Is
zip
it-
code?
Is that six?
66040. 66040.
Yeah.
Is that the northwestern?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was 072. Is that the northwestern side?
That's the south. Yeah,
No,
Parker,
maybe that's not it.
Parker, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 072 is the one that goes to Franklin County, and then 040 is the one that's in Miami with us.
Yeah, so we need to get those other
So, yeah,
zip
it's the
codes.
5.
And you said there's a form you could send us?
Yes, I just saw it this morning.
If
I
you,
can
if you could
email
do
that
it,
to you.
email it to us and we'll get it done. We'll get it
Yep.
processed.
And then we just like to come visit with you guys every once in a while, just let you know what's going on.
Well,
I mean,
and-
county employees can do this. I mean, it's, that's our hope. We've had Miami County in the past. And it dropped off for a while. Our hope is to get back with them and have their county employees have some option,
Yeah.
to be able to give, and it's not a hard pitch or anything like that. So,
And I told Jason, I noticed that we do have some individual contributors that work at the different school districts. So why not just have the workplace campaign? And then
Right.
that way we're not having to solicit individuals.
Sure.
And then the other thing is if there is some sort of an email list I can get on, I don't know if that's through a chamber, when I know events are happening out here, so
Sure.
we can be present and kind of spread the word.
Okay, I'll get you some for the chambers up there.
Okay,
They're small, but there is.
sure.
yeah.
But,
I don't know if you, do we have a chamber down here in Mound City?
Chamber of Commerce, Mount
Okay,
City.
yeah.
okay,
We'll get the Pleasant in, we'll give them to you.
Yeah.
okay.
Excellent.
All
Any
right,
questions or anything else for us? No?
I don't really have any right now.
but I will put you on the spot and say, Rotary's looking for, Lewisburg. Have you been up there yet?
Have you been to Lewisburg for Rotary, for a speaker?
Lewisburg, yeah.
Oh,
no.
We're
no.
looking for one for next week,
Oh, okay.
Wednesday,
Okay. Are they still meeting out at the
Timber Creek.
Timber Creek? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Are you the program guy?
No, but I was put on the spot for it. I gotta find and you just happened to show up today and,
That's good. That's good.
hey, Jackie, I'll let you speak if you want to. Have you got anything you want to ask them as a newspaper for?
Canis, C-A-M.
That's it?
Here, I'll give you a business card.
Yeah, I don't have cards yet, but they're on order, so.
What's your last name? I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, yeah. Did we give you one of those? Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think I gave you the 211 information.
Yep. That's my day job, what I get paid for.
There you go.
So helpful?
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Good. I think that's the main thing I'm seeing, the main opportunity is that people just aren't aware.
Yeah, they
We're
are.
here. And-
Especially here in the very small communities like we have here in our county.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, we were surprised, I'll tell you, so about 5-6 years ago when Children's Mercy came in and requested funding the first time, and I was like, there was a little bit of debate on it, like there's such a huge organization raising millions of dollars, but boy, they came in with data, like it's undisputable. Like, I mean, they're like, well, you have, I can't even remember, they're like, you've got 3,000, maybe it was 3,000, 4,000 kids under age of 18 in the county right now. And last year we saw like 1,400 of them at some point. Might have been long-term, just one visit, whatever. But it was like 30-40% of the kids in the county were seen at Children's Mercy. And it really made it hard for us to say, gosh, like we shouldn't, and they gave like, I can't even remember, it's like $1 million of uncompensated care, type thing. And so, it's great. It's interesting to see when you get some of that data and you think to yourself, gosh, this is some stuff, this is the stuff. Because now Olathe Health, do they have presence down here?
not anymore.
Not anymore. So who's the main?
SEK, right? Southeast Kansas.
Okay.
Community Health Center of Southeast.
Yeah.
Okay, so like that would be another one for us to visit with because they probably have some data on, some of that type of information and
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
out of Pittsburgh.
Is that where they're out of Pittsburgh? Okay. Yeah, they'll have some information about some data, like in terms of the needs and some of that. The Olathe Health has always done that too in the past. They've had community needs surveys to understand where health-related issues are in communities and so forth.
And so your CFC campaign that you would go out on to do your pledges, if the, like, that's based in Pittsburgh, but their offices is here, you can still
Yeah.
visit their employees and ask, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
So, well, excellent. You got anything else? I think we're good. We'll let you guys get back to the fun stuff, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you,
I'll
guys.
email you. We'll kind of coordinate
Okay.
schedules and
We'll get you some
try to
emails
get
on
some
the
stuff
others.
rolling.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Enjoy this lovely weather.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
A question about next week's meeting. We have the superintendents, I think are scheduled to come in next week at 10. And I believe in the week that I was gone, you guys talked about doing another tour of the Justice Center the first week in March. Do we want to try to get that set also?
Yep.
How do we talk?
I just call Warren and tell him, I mean, they know you want to do it, but they probably forgot. What time do you want to do it? You want to do it?
Do it in the morning, early.
We do it
9:30 or something?
10:30?
Yeah. What time?
Superintendent's coming at 10?
They're coming at 10:05 is actually what I've got on the schedule.
We sure they make that work.
Yeah.
I'll let Warren know.
So if you want to tour with us, Jackie, you're welcome.
And probably allow most of that half hour before it then, and just come back at 10 for them.
Yeah,
Because we did about 30, 40 minutes left.
yeah.
Looking a lot better.
Yeah.
That's some paint on there and then.
Look good.
Now you want to visit, huh?
Huh?
Now you want to stay there, huh?
Anything else?
I don't think so. I've got. Never mind. There was an email here, but I don't think it's anything for you guys.
For me.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
See what happened?
Yeah.
Why?